What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome to a safe space between friends where we get real about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. This is Myra. I'm here with Nikki.
Hey,
How
hey,
are
hey.
y'all doing? Hope everybody is doing well. Today's topic is really exciting for both me and Nikki, and
Yeah.
it's the courage of vulnerability. It takes courage to be vulnerable. And so we're going to open with the scripture in Joshua chapter 1. Hold on one second. Hold on. Joshua chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. Let me get this right real quick. Hold on. It's not working for me. All right. Okay, hold on. All right. I'm
You
coming
time.
for
This,
you.
this is your safe space. Take your time, girl.
Thank you for giving me that moment, that safe space. Joshua chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Number 9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you everywhere you go.
Amen.
That verse brings a lot of comfort and a lot of confidence um, for me. So
Confidence is a good word too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good word. That is a good
Yeah.
word. All right, Miss Nikki.
All right. So this is coming out of the book of Matthew, and it's right around the Last Supper. Um, it's at Matthew 26, 37 through 39. And it says, they're talking about Jesus. He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along, I think I said that right, along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, my Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as your will. Um, then to me, that this kind of choked me up when we were first looking at it, because it talks about how Jesus is just vulnerable, right? And it's like Jesus, of all people, being so vulnerable to the point where he was overwhelmed with sorrow, to the point where he had to pray that his will, not his will. He had the courage to say, "Not my will, but yours," even in that moment of being overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Um, but then, just to kind of take a description that I got off of the internet. Here's a description of this passage. It says, Jesus demonstrates an amazing example of how to be vulnerable. In this passage, he was honest with his friends. That honesty, you can't have vulnerability without honesty either. Like, I feel like we're creating a recipe right now for vulnerability. You have to have courage, right? You have to have honesty.
Mhm.
So he was honest with his friends about how he felt going through the most painful moments of his life. And it
Mhm.
even says in the word, his own words, it's in red, people, his own words, he says, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow. My soul, like he was just, that was just at a break-in moment, it feels like.
Mhm.
Um, but then it goes on to say, um, so he was honest with his friends about how he felt going through the most painful moments of his life, but he also allowed God into the depths of his emotions and as he wrestled in that prayer. Because, and here's the kicker, it's a choice to be vulnerable.
It
He
is.
chose
Mhm.
vulnerability,
Mhm.
right? He chose that.
Mhm.
Um, to me, that is just, it just goes back to just what a loving act.
Mhm.
In the mix of his sorrow, he still chose it.
Mhm.
He could have been
Mm.
nuts. He could have been mad. He could have been angry.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
he could have hid. He could
Mhm.
have, out of love, he could have hid that vulnerability to try to for them not to have to see that.
Right.
He allowed them to endure that with him as
Mhm.
well.
Right. Very good. That's right. As you were talking, I would decide to go to the dictionary and see a definition of vulnerability. And according to the Oxford Dictionary, vulnerability is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. I think that's pretty powerful.
Very powerful.
You when you open up, you allow yourself to be exposed, to be naked, if you will.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling. That's when you're like that transparency. I mean, like
Yeah.
you're shedding every mask or every
Yes.
persona, every
Right.
facade, if you will,
Right.
every filter as we see.
Yeah, true. It's very true.
You know.
The no makeup lens
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
allow people to see you in without your makeup, without your
Without
best
your
clothes.
successes.
Yeah, yes. Yes, you allow them to see who you really are outside
Mhm.
of that. Who are we outside of being therapists? Who are we really?
Right.
Um,
Who are
and,
we in those moments of
mhm,
deep, overwhelmed sorrow? Who are
yeah,
we? Like I shared with you,
yeah.
Myra, in those moments when I had to schedule that, like nose to the ground was real. And it was just because it was just straight sob of,
Mhm,
I'm sorry, I'm not handling this appropriately, even though that's exactly how I was supposed to handle it in that moment. Right. But it's
right.
being vulnerable enough to be able to say, this is scary and I'm
Mhm,
giving this scary to you because
mhm,
Lord, it's your will anyway. So
mhm,
I want
mhm,
what you want,
mhm,
but
mhm,
still being able to express that
mhm,
um, openly to someone, like you said, just being naked with
mhm,
with that emotion.
mhm.
Um,
And even with that vulnerability, having the courage, knowing the confidence, knowing that God is there.
mhm.
He's forever present, omnipresent. That's the right word, right?
Yeah,
He's always there wherever you are. What the Bible says, if we're in the ocean, he's there. If we're in, I don't know the other parts, but like out in the wilderness or whatever, he's there. He's always
the
there.
fire girl.
He's always there. Like you're right. Even in the fire with the three Hebrew boys, he was
You're the fourth
right
man. Yep.
there. And when you
That's why you'll
expose
see me
yourself,
amongst a storm. You'll see me. I'm the crazy Jesus lady out there just praising. Because I already know some good's coming.
that's right. Wow. In the middle of the storm, you're praising because you know something good is coming. That'll preach, Nikki. That's
Look
really good.
here. I had a client back in the day preach, and he did too. He says, I'm going, he'd always say, Miss Nikki, I'm going through it. But at the end of the day, he'd turn around and say, but the blessings in the breaking. And it was true. It hit me so hard so
Mhm.
many times how that man that was the realest thing I'd ever heard.
Good,
And,
yeah.
for someone that was going through it. And he was going through it, man.
Mhm.
Um, but the blessings in the breaking, because and it comes down to what we've kind of already discussed in previous episodes. It comes down to that acceptance. It comes down
Mhm.
to that vulnerability and being courageous enough to be able to say, even if I'm attacked for feeling this way, I
That's right.
still feel this
That's right. That's right.
even if I'm attacked for believing this way, I
Mhm.
still believe this.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
still convicted in this area and I'm standing on that. Or how
Mhm.
grandma,
Mhm.
how Carol Rose used to look at me and say, if you say it once, you better say it twice and do it standing alone.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
We got to stand
True.
firm in that.
Yeah, you do. Um,
Even if we don't believe it, is what the word says.
right. Even when we don't believe it. That's right. And people will vulnerability has this negative connotation,
Right.
when it's actually very, very powerful.
Come
Uh,
on.
it's a superpower for a lot of us. I've
It
been
is
told.
for you, Myra.
Yeah, for sure. Me opening up, being my truest self in front of people gives them the courage to do the same.
Yes.
Like you said earlier, it's reciprocal.
Yep.
Like I give, they give, I give, they give, and it's been an experience for me because growing up, you got to always be very strong, and you got to put on this face, and you can't show your weaknesses, you can't be vulnerable, and that just dang puts you in a cage, man, of performance.
Mm.
You got to perform for people,
Ooh.
and
Which takes away from who you truly are, which takes away
exactly,
from who you're truly supposed to be.
exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And Myra, you're right. Your vulnerability is your superpower. We can see that in all of your Myra moments. We can see that, and you like that plug. You can see that in all. You just can because and it goes back to what we were saying earlier too. You don't have to have the same experience as someone else to be able to share a vulnerability with someone so that they know that they're safe enough to share one with you. That's that reciprocity we're talking about. It's not like you owe me, because I'm gonna share with you. Like, it's not a tit for tat. It's more of a
Right.
I care enough about you to share this piece of me with you so that you feel more comfortable sharing a piece as well. That to me is where, even in our field, we talked about this too, where self-disclosure has always been like frowned upon, when I think that it is a utilized tool when needed with a client that's stuck. That can't get past that guilt or that shame or whatever it is that's got them stuck in that pattern. Being able to take that elephant off of them and put it on us, right, is actually a clinical skill.
It is.
Yeah, to being able to do that. And it's a humanistic skill is really what we're talking about. But using it in that setting is what makes it clinical. But you having that superpower of being able to say, hey, this is who I am on an authentic level. It allows trust, and you can't have vulnerability without it. Let's just be real. If we're asking someone else to be vulnerable, they have to be able to trust us. And they can't trust us if we're constantly changing who we are, if we're constantly trying to blend in with the crowd that we're hanging out with at that moment. That's why I always like that old saying, be who you are and your people will find you.
It's true. It's so true. I never believed it. I always felt like I got to be like so-and-so. I got to look like so-and-so. I got to sound like so-and-so. And I'll never forget when I was working at drug court and I first started. And so I was just observing a therapist, and Cindy Drickers. Do you know Cindy?
Oh, girl, yes. Come on,
Cindy.
shout out Cindy.
So, Cindy.
She's probably working right now.
I was shadowing her and watching her. And after the group, I was like, dang, I just want to be as good as you. I just want to be like you. And she said, no, all you got to do is be you.
Come on, that is Cindy all day.
That's all you need to be.
That's right.
You can't be like me. You can't, because it won't be real. People are going to be attracted to you posted because you're you. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I interrupted you. I'm so sorry. No, I think it was a meme you posted back in the day under your Myra moments, actually, where you said you can't be unique without the you. Or something of that nature, but it was something you were emphasizing, the you.
Definitely. Yeah. And I said, okay, so they'll accept me just for being me. I don't have to be sending, I'm processing what she said. And I said, okay, I'm just going to be who I am. That's all I got to give them. And that should be enough. That's going to be enough. Doing all that positive self-talk. It's going to be enough. And I'll never forget, even my first group alone, they said, so they were challenging me. So what drugs did you do? And I was like, I haven't. And they're like, so you never smoked weed? No.
You ain't got no street cred.
None. Well, what do you like to drink? I don't. So you don't even drink? No. So how are you going to help us? What are you going to do for us? And I was like, I'm gonna do the one thing that I'm gonna teach you the one thing that you haven't figured out yet. I said that's how to live sober.
Come on with it. They don't need help using.
We don't need that to be, to work together.
Exactly.
And they were like, okay, that's cool.
But you were still able to connect, because I witnessed you. You were still able to connect to people that you didn't have. And I'm not saying people that didn't look like you. I'm saying people that you just didn't relate to experiences, right? You didn't have that street cred when it came to the criminogenics, or when it came to
the green as could be.
Yeah. Right. But I remember you looking at them and saying, we all have stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying, I remember you sharing some of your stuff on whatever ground that looked like in that moment, right? So you shared that moment of vulnerability to say, hey, Myra's not perfect. Myra still has to live life on life's terms. And that's exactly what we were there to help them with, is gaining that and learning how to love themselves, because that's really the bottom there. That lack of self-love and self-discipline too, because part of that is that too. For sure. But I remember that your superpower literally saying, I don't have to use to be, I don't have to be an addict to help an addict.
Right. Exactly. Just like you helped me. You know what I mean? So
right. Exactly. But you were able to share that vulnerability, and that is your superpower. You being authentic in general is just a superpower. I mean, and that to me, that I've seen, that's obviously a thing of maturity and growth too. But that vulnerability component, you've always been that.
Thank you.
That's always that. Thank you. Thank you, because you've allowed other people, myself included, to be able to be vulnerable, and to be able to, because we can't have self-growth without it either. Right.
And you can't feel safe if you can't feel vulnerable. If you can't be vulnerable, you that's my biggest thing, is giving people a space. That's why we're doing this.
That's right.
Giving people that space, that's safe, that safety, to be vulnerable.
To be able to say, I am overwhelmed with sorrow. Mm-hmm. To be able to say, I don't feel good enough to be able to start this podcast. Right. I don't feel competent enough to be a single mom. I don't feel, it's filling in all of that space and all that gap when other people can't. All right. And being vulnerable and saying, guess what? I may be your cheerleader today, but I felt that too. And kind of, I think part of helping people is just normalizing too, is being able to share our vulnerability is just normalizing their process.
Right.
I think it's really, and just giving them that, like you said, that safe space to be able to grow and see themselves.
Right. All right, y'all. Well, I think that's it for today. What do you think, Nikki?
I mean, I'm good with it if you're good with it.
All right. Well, remember, there's courage and vulnerability. And we hope that until next time, you'll be a safe space for someone. And if you need a safe space, that you'll find it. And thanks again for your time. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Next time.